So when I'm talking to patients or when I'm talking to consumers, I say, if you're trying to protect yourself and the people you love, you build a castle
Right.
and you build those strong, high castle walls. So the problem is that if you do not first build a strong foundation, it doesn't matter how much you
Mhm.
build up those castle walls, it's all going to come tumbling down the first time the attackers heave a couple of big rocks at you.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Healthy Habit Podcast. You're tuned in to episode number 74. What a year it's been. Unbelievable. We made it to 74 here. Incredible. And I'm your host, Dr. Dayan of Healthy Habit Medical Center. And look who is back, folks. One of our fan favorites here. We've got Cheryl Myers back in town here, Chief of Scientific Affairs for EuroPharma, Inc. Cheryl's a healthcare professional with certifications in cancer, pain control, and issues of aging. She's an expert in dietary supplements and natural medicines who's been a featured guest on hundreds of radio and television shows, just like this one here. Cheryl's a member of the editorial board of the Natural Medicine Journal, and her own published research has included topics such as menopause, diabetes, sleep disorders, and digestive health. And we're going to dive into immune support today. If you missed the last episode with Cheryl, which was episode number 69, we talked about Umka Loabo and the brand new product there at Terry Naturally, Angiographis and Umka Loabo, the mix, the CNF formula. So today's going to be a great supplement to episode 69. Cheryl, welcome back to the podcast.
It is always a delight to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm excited to talk to you on this one. We're talking ViraPro, Vira like virus, and then Pro, VIRA Pro. Let's dive right into it. We're big fan favorites here of elderberry. We love elderberry and the power of sambucus. So let's dive right into it. Give us a little intro into the ViraPro product.
Well, as you mentioned, ViraPro is based on a unique elderberry. It's called Hirschberg elderberry. It's from Austria. And elderberry, the name Sambucus nigra nigra means black. So it is very dark, dark purple. The more that the elderberry is a dark purple, the darker it is, the more powerful the anthocyanin content. So it's important to have standardization, or you may end up with elderberries that aren't quite as strong as others. But there's been another huge problem in the elderberry world, and that is adulteration. Sorry to say that on the one hand, our recent pandemic really expanded people's understanding that there are dietary supplements and botanicals that can make a huge difference in their immune system function and can be very beneficial. But at the same time, there were people that, well, because interest is at an all-time high, wanted to sell more and more products. And elderberry was one of those products that was one of the top 5 that were being sold with regards to immune system health. The problem is there's only so much elderberry in the world. And so they started to use things that are not elderberry, but sell it as elderberry. In fact, just as recently as 1 year ago, there was a company busted on Amazon for selling elderberry in capsules,
Hmm.
white powder in white capsules, and claiming it was elderberry. And they weren't selling it for cheap either. It was like $49.95 a bottle. Not
Wow.
a bit of elderberry in it. It was rice powder. They did a recent analysis of elderberry bulk materials, and out of 25 different bulk materials that were analyzed, 14 failed the identity test for the key compounds for elderberry, and 5 contained nothing like elderberry at all. Of 8 finished products, 2 of them had no elderberry extract at all. So that's just the new world we live in. Just because a plant isn't available doesn't mean someone's not going to try to sell it. So it's
Unbelievable.
important to work with quality health food stores, quality integrative practitioners, and quality supplement manufacturers who pay a lot of attention to identity. So as I said, we all only use Hochberg elderberry. It's never adulterated, and its identity is verified once we receive the raw material, that we know for sure that it's elderberry. Now, the reason we chose this one for our ViraPro as well, number one, is clinically studied, which means it's been used in published human clinical trials. This is one of my favorite studies. So I don't know if you've ever been to Australia. I have never been
Nope.
to Australia, but Australia is very far away from everywhere else. It takes a long time to get there. So they did a research study on individuals that were traveling from Australia to overseas destinations, sitting in economy class, not the first class passengers that had plenty of room,
Hmm.
but economy class where everybody was squished in like sardines. They evaluated them prior to the flight for any kind of viral symptoms, cold or flu. They received ViraPro's elderberry, which is this Hochberg elderberry, prior to the flight, during the flight, after the flight. And then afterwards so it ended up being 312 passengers.
Right.
Afterwards, they followed up. In the group that received the Hochberg elderberry, there were 50% fewer viral illnesses as the placebo group. Now, that's an awesome reduction. It cut in half the disease rate. But what I like the most about this is it wasn't specific to what disease. They looked at influenza, didn't matter if it was type A, type B. It didn't matter, it looked at colds, rhinovirus, looked at sinus infections. It didn't matter what disease it was, it cut those in half. So we know that it's an awesome broad spectrum preventative for viral illness. The second thing they found is that if individuals in the elderberry group did get sick, their illness lasted only 2/3 as long as those in the placebo group. So let's say someone in the placebo group was sick for 10 days with the common cold. Then the elderberry group, they were only sick for about 6.5 days with the
Hmm.
common cold. And if that weren't enough, the individuals in the elderberry group, as for rating of the severity of the symptoms, their symptoms were much less severe. So just based on this one experiment alone, we know that number one, this Hochberg ViraPro elderberry, number one, helps to prevent, in the first place, getting sick despite exposure. Number two, if you do get sick, you get over it faster. And
Right.
number three, your symptoms are not as severe. So the ViraPro elderberry, that clinically studied elderberry that we use in our formula, is combined with the most important vitamins and minerals that are necessary for proper immune system function. So that's also an important component of this product. You
That's
know,
a yeah. Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
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 go
please.
please. No, I was going to say, we all talk about vitamins and minerals. They're not very exciting, are they? Everybody knows about vitamins and
Right.
minerals, but there are certain vitamins and minerals that you don't have the most optimal immune benefits on board just by getting the RDI. So the recommended daily intake is the amount of a nutrient you need to prevent a deficiency syndrome. So as you know, if you don't have enough vitamin C on board, you develop the disease scurvy.
Right.
So when we look at, we often think of the sailors in the early times crossing the oceans with no vitamin C source, developing scurvy, which can eventually end up in death if not treated. And the treatment, vitamin C, you get that
Yep.
back on board. So the RDIs were established with enough of a nutrient used every day to keep you from developing a deficiency syndrome. So enough vitamin D to prevent rickets, which is vitamin D deficiency syndrome, etc. So when you're looking at optimal immune system function, sometimes that's just not quite what you need in order to get your foundation as strong as you want it to be for immune system strength and vigor. So when I'm talking to patients or when I'm talking to consumers, I say, if you're trying to protect yourself and the people you love, you build a castle
Right.
and you build those strong, high castle walls. So the problem is that if you do not first build a strong foundation, it doesn't matter how much you
Hmm.
build up those castle walls, it's all going to come tumbling down the first time the attackers heave a couple of big rocks at you.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm a big advocate of four vitamins and two minerals. That's vitamins A, C, D, and E, and the minerals zinc and selenium. Those are foundational ingredients. If you do not have enough zinc on board, you're going to have compromised immune system function. If you don't have enough vitamin C on board, you're going to have compromised immune system function. If you don't have enough vitamin D, we certainly learned in the pandemic the relationship between vitamin D and helping to stay healthy despite viral exposure. You're not going to have that foundation. So in addition to the ViraPro, which is building up the castle walls, in addition to that special elderberry, we also provide the foundation so that those walls stay strong. That's one of the things I love about this product is it addresses immune system activity from more than one direction. You've got the direct benefits of this unique clinically studied elderberry that's very, very potent. In addition to that, you have 4 vitamins and 2 minerals that are the most crucial in building the immune system foundation. And not just that we include them, we include them in the form that are most beneficial to folks.
And if you're used to taking this product for the last few years, we have a brand new look. It's the exact same trusted products. We got the brand new Terry Naturally ViraPro, which is the elderberry immune blend. And again, it's not just elderberry, as Cheryl just mentioned. We have vitamins A, C, D3, and E in there with that zinc and selenium, the 2 minerals. And this is actually a Taste for Life Essentials Award winner in 2019, about 4 years ago. This is an award-winning immune product, so you might want to add it in. This is, if you're watching on YouTube, about how big the capsules are, or sorry, they're tablets. This is a tablet product. And we even have the bioflavonoids complex in there from the citrus peel extract. So a really well-rounded formula. It's recommended at 1 tablet a day. I'm sure some people have doubled that. What are your thoughts on the frequency or the amount per day?
If you're using it every day to keep your immune system strong, 1 a day is plenty. However, if you're feeling a scratch in your throat, you're starting to sneeze, you can certainly take 2, 3 of these per day, spread out throughout the day for a couple of days to kind of get that extra immune boost on board until you're feeling better. When we look at the ingredients, some people they'll look and they'll say, wait, it has calcium and magnesium. I feel like the Wizard of Oz. Do not look behind the curtain. The calcium and magnesium is not in there for the mineral benefits.
Yeah.
They are in there because they are natural compounds that we use to carry some of the other ingredients, as opposed to trying to use like a synthetic carrier. But because they're above 1% of the DV, we're required to list them on the label. But the calcium and magnesium are not there for that reason. The zinc and the selenium are. And when we look at like the selenium that we use, I'm often asked about that selenium. That selenium is a product it is extracted from yeast. And people often say to me, oh my gosh, I have real yeast issues. I have candida issues. What should I do? Well, you're not going to have a problem with this because this is a food yeast that's been in use for thousands of years. And it is also, this yeast is clinically studied, and it does not really have the active yeast that comes along with it. They just use the yeast to make the selenium. In fact, this selenium is so unique that it has received it's received the blessing, so to speak, of the FDA to make a cancer claim. So when we look at this, the FDA does not allow dietary supplements to make disease claims.
Right.
You can't treat diseases and injuries. You can only support the healthy structure function of the body, the normal structure function of the body. Those are the claims. That's why we support a healthy immune system. And those are the words we used in all of our literature, even though the studies may be, that it has antiviral activity. We can't treat viral diseases, because of the certain way that the rules are made. But the FDA occasionally makes exceptions. And this is one of the exceptions. The types of literature and the published studies on this specific form of selenium were so compelling that you are allowed to make an anti-cancer claim, talking about selenium as a preventer of cancer, which is something that the FDA almost never does. So this is a super powerful compound. We don't talk, we're talking today about immune system, but very often the very same things that support a healthy, strong immune system for your, dealing with cold and flu season are the very same things. They have some pretty mighty benefits at helping to protect DNA and helping to prevent the mutations that end up being cancer. So these are just some great foundational ingredients all around. But here we're targeting immune system function.
That's amazing. Again, that's selenium as yeast, the Saccharomyces cerevisiae form. There's so many different forms of all vitamins and minerals, right? We want to match what the research actually says is beneficial. So thanks for clarifying that. So again, elderberry, it's as Austrian Hashberg elderberry, the Hashberg Austrian elderberry version. So tell us a
Uh-huh.
bit more, like why not blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, obviously goji berries, they have their own benefits, but why? What's all the hype with elderberry? Why is it so much more powerful? Maybe you can go into the anthocyanins, but yeah, why all the power behind elderberry?
Well, I have never met an edible berry that I didn't like.
Yeah.
All edible berries. Edible berries
Have
are
benefits.
the cat's meow. They're all excellent. They all
Yeah.
have benefits. Incorporate them into your diet. However, when we look specifically at elderberry, it's they don't all contain the same. That's why elderberry tastes different than blueberry, tastes different from raspberries, tastes different from blackberries, tastes different from goji berries. They
Right.
all taste different. They're all made of different things. And while they all have, I think they're all extremely supportive of immune system health. Elderberry has anthocyanins that you don't find in other berries. They are relatively unique combinations of compounds that have the most potent antiviral activity. They actually have some antibacterial activity as well.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And again, 7 powerhouse ingredients, the power of sambucas plus more. It's
Mhm.
almost like a multivitamin, you want, if you want to call it that, for the immune
Almost.
system. Um,
Almost. The other thing that is the form, as you mentioned before, you were so right when you said the form makes the difference. Like our vitamin E, it says vitamin E and mixed tocopherols. And
yeah.
people say to me, well, what does that mean? Well, it turns out that vitamin E is not one thing. Vitamin E is a family of compounds
Oh,
called tocopherols, and they're named alpha, beta, delta, gamma.
yeah.
Alpha, beta, delta, gamma are Greek letters. It's just signifiers. So you've got alpha, beta, delta, gamma. Over 100 years ago, when they were doing nutrient research and identifying vitamins, they found that the alpha tocopherol had the type of activity they thought was more vitamin-like, and so they selected out alpha tocopherol as the compound we identify now as vitamin E. But beta, delta, gamma tocopherol also have vitamin E like activity.
Hmm.
And in fact, gamma tocopherol is the most common form of tocopherol found in foods and has activity that alpha does not possess. And so when you see that vitamin E with mixed tocopherols, we're not just giving you alpha tocopherol,
Yeah.
we're giving you the whole family. And there is some preliminary research that finds that by taking all four of these tocopherol, putting the family back together again, has far more health benefits, not just for immune system function, but for cardiovascular function, than just singling out one family member with alpha tocopherol and taking it on its own.
Incredible. And as always, in Terry Naturally EuroPharma fashion, there's no sugar, salt, wheat, gluten, soy, dairy products, artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, or artificial preservatives in this product, just like all their other formulas. So thanks for highlighting that. And let's dive a little bit more into anthocyanins. How are they different from like flavonoids and other different plant compounds that are so beneficial for the immune system? And again, elderberry, especially this Hashberg Austrian elderberry, is rich in these anthocyanins. What are they exactly? What are anthocyanins?
Well, these are nutritional compounds that are crucially important that do much of the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
We see them in the plant kingdom, we don't see them in the animal kingdom. And so when you are looking at, for example, blueberries, you're going to get a different spectrum of compounds than you're going to get from a T-bone steak.
Yeah.
So when we look at them, they all have one of the reasons that we have to eat from all of the colors of the rainbow is because all plants, all edible plants are healthy. However, they all have different nutritional makeup.
Yeah.
That's why, you don't get the same benefits from eating grapes as you do from cherries versus spinach versus celery versus squash. They all have these different compounds. That's why we have to eat such a wide variety. So when you look at these, they're present in fruits and vegetables. Some have higher amounts. Some of the most potent when it comes to immune system activity are in the blue and purple categories.
Hmm.
And so when we look at that section of anthocyanins, we see a lot of research that has been done specifically on not just boosting immune system function, but one of the interesting studies done on elderberries, anthocyanins, is they actually make it more difficult for the virus to hold on to the cell.
Wow.
So when you are infected with a virus, the virus gets into your body either because someone sneezed close to you or you touched something and rubbed your eyes or whatever the case may be. By the way, viruses don't have wings or feet. You have to put them in your body. So I have to give a call out to washing your hands. You never know, especially if you wear contact lenses. In fact, if there's a flu outbreak, I often recommend people don't wear contact lenses because you're always touching your eye without thinking it.
Right.
Wear glasses. But there's lots of just keep them out of your body in the first place. But once they get in your body, they're still pretty weak. They still can't do anything. The only thing they can do is hitchhike. The only thing they can do is attach. And so I think of them almost like barnacles on a ship. They attach to the outside of the healthy cell.
Yeah.
Then they have to, so attachment is phase one. Phase two is they have to penetrate the cell. And when they get inside the cell, they hijack the engines and the raw materials inside the cell and turn it into a little virus making machine. So the virus gets inside the cell. If the virus can't get inside the cell, you're not going to have a viral illness.
Right.
It has to get inside the cell, and then it makes thousands and thousands of viruses. Eventually, they can either be released from the cell, or the cell can actually explode and it releases enormous numbers of viruses into the bloodstream. So when you find specific compounds that can help reduce the ability of viruses to attach to the cell wall itself,
Sure.
you make a huge difference in infectivity. So that's one of the reasons why we go more for these kinds of anthocyanins. And quite honestly, I truthfully believe that we've got a lot more research to do, not just on elderberry, but on a lot of the different anthocyanins, because I believe it's more in the fruit than just the anthocyanins.
Yeah.
I believe it's ratios. I believe it's helper compounds. I believe there's other things that we don't fully understand yet that can just do tremendous benefits for our immune system.
And for the YouTube viewers, I just pulled up, this is straight from PubMed, a peer-reviewed resource listing off the richest sources of anthocyanins. Actually, elderberry is higher than all these, so I'm surprised they didn't include this in the list. But
well, elderberry is not a very tasty fruit.
Yeah.
And you should not eat it raw.
It's medicinal.
It doesn't. Yeah, it's more medicinal. However, people do make elderberry jam, and the most famous use of elderberry is elderberry wine. So elderberry wine not only tastes pretty good, elderberry wine is like a folk remedy for, if you're coming down with something, have a little bit of elderberry wine.
Right.
Alcohol is a pretty darn good extractor. It's a great solvent, and it pulls those compounds out of the fruit to make them more available to people. So yeah, it's just wonderful. I have my own personal testimonial. I usually like to stick to the science, but my youngest son is a singer and a performer, has been in musical theater, and I'm his mom, so I like to think he's quite good.
Yeah.
But back when he was in middle school, was when he started. And by the time he was in high school and he was getting some starring roles, there were times when the performances were right in the middle of cold and flu season. And every single show he was in, at one time or another, some of the starring cast was out and they had to use stand-ins. One time, cold and flu season was so bad that they not only went through their stand-ins, they had people that didn't even know the lines having to come in order to try to put on a performance, so that the show must go on, right?
Yeah.
And he performed in college as well. My son was the only one who never missed a performance. And I value ViraPro because whenever he started to get the sniffles, and we were within a week or so of starting performances, he would just bulk up on it, start taking it a couple of times a day. One time he had this big performance singing in, this is hilarious. So Green Bay, we're not very fancy here. We had a show called Broadway in Green Bay.
That's good.
That was different songs. He loves the Phantom of the Opera, and so he was able to do one of the songs from that with a young lady, All I Ask of You. And the 2 days before the performance, he woke up and couldn't talk. His scratchy throat. I said, oh my gosh. So I started making him ginger tea because that settled down the inflammation in his throat. He started taking the elderberry. The next day he was a little bit better. The third day, 48 hours of treatment, he was up there singing like a bird.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is one of the go-to things in my own personal medicine cabinet, that when people start to feel a little funky or a little under the weather, it's one of my go-tos.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that personal story there, Cheryl. That's amazing, especially because you need your voice to be as clear as possible for performances, right?
Right,
You can't
right.
have any raspiness. So elderberry works. You just gotta take it, right? Frequently.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not like going to the pharmacy and taking like a high potency drug where it kicks in immediately. You have to be consistent with herbs
Yes.
like elderberry and
I
a
would
formula like
encourage,
this.
yeah, I would encourage people to take this with meals. Number one, I believe that there's compounds in food that help boost absorption even a little bit more. And number two, this is a very potent product. And some people, when they take a very strong elderberry on an empty stomach, that may not agree with them as well. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does. You can completely avoid that. Just take it with food.
We have about one or two more episodes lined up here for 2023 with Cheryl Myers, so I'm excited for that. Give us a little sneak peek on HRG80. I'm a big fan of ginseng. It's in my top 3 favorite herbs. That was the ViraPro. You don't want to miss that one here, folks, as we transition here into the fall and winter months. But give us a little sneak peek on setting the stage for our next discussion on HRG80. Just intro it for us.
Well, we have a unique form of ginseng that is at least, at minimum, 7 times more powerful than any other red ginseng on the market in the US, that comes from a hydroponic source, which is strategically stressed to make the ginseng stronger and stronger and stronger. What it is targeting is, we say, energy. And yes, it's great. It's for going out disco dancing or snowboarding or whatever your activity of choice might be. It's great for
Right.
that kind of energy. But you know what we really need energy for is recovery and rebuilding. So people that have been through very difficult trauma, people have been through chemotherapy, radiation therapy, often their energy is just at an all-time low. And they don't need energy back just for comfort. They need energy to heal. You need energy for your body to do what your body needs to do. People in physical therapy often need enormous amounts of energy for recovery. There was a recent study that was done specifically on our HRG80 Red Ginseng on chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia and post-viral fatigue that found in the 60.1% of individuals that had significant benefits, tremendous increases in stamina. I think stamina was 73%, overall energy 67%. So this is a fantastic, clean product that doesn't come with the downside of ginseng, which are the pesticides and herbicides and fungicides it is
Right.
doused with to keep it alive. It's grown in a different way in order to concentrate the most beneficial compounds, and it's one of my go-tos as well. I love it.
I'm excited to talk about that next time we have you on, Cheryl. That's a perfect
Awesome.
place to end it there. And again, here's a quick another flash into ViraPro Elderberry Immune Blend, the power of Sambucus. We have it right here at Healthy Habit Health Foods. And you can call us at 602-252-6000. We ship nationwide. You can come on down to the store and pick up your bottle or two to get ready here for the next couple months as we finish off 2023. Thank you so much, as always, Cheryl, for your time.
Well, thank you, Ayan. I really appreciate it. And thank you for all you do to get
Thank you.
quality information out to folks.
We'll see you next time.
You bet. Bye.